Now, Erie's premier podcast. News about music, health, and what's happening. It's Breakfast with Nat the Hat in the 814, sponsored by Erie Insurance.
Well, good morning, LECOM listeners, and welcome to Podcast 12 of Breakfast with Nat the Hat in the 814. You know, Old Man Winter has definitely put January back into perspective. My pea coat and my earmuffs have become my best friend, though it's much tougher to find my earmuffs at my age. I misplace them all the time, along with many, many other items. Senior moments, I call them. Podcast 12 is titled Senior Services and the Total Change Program. You know, when I returned to Erie and started my position with Second Harvest Food Bank, I was introduced to an organization that made me so proud to be a part of a nonprofit. And, you know, it is the Independent Council on Aging. We like to call it ICA. And I was asked to do a presentation for the organization and realized how very important ICA is for those of us reaching our golden years. They are a voluntary, nonprofit organization of individuals, agencies, and businesses from Erie and Erie County. Their mission is to provide quality of life for mature adults like myself while fostering a positive image of aging. I welcome Kathy Katerna, the president of ICA. How are you, Miss Kathy?
I am well, Natalie. It's good to see you and good to be here.
And you know, I'm going to tell you, the woman that's sitting next to you was the president, I believe, when I first was contacted for ICA, and that is Pat House, former president of the organization. And I hear you're at the Highmark Caring Place now, too, Pat.
I do volunteer there, yes.
Well, Happy New Year to you both. And welcome to Breakfast with Nat the Hat in the 814. I would like to start out by asking you, Pat, to tell us about your years in the 814. Let's go back.
Okay. I started 25 years ago with ICA, so I've been around a long time.
Yes, you have.
And it was because of one of the Benedictine sisters who said to me, you have to join that organization. I ignored it for the first year.
As we all do.
And she said, you have to join that organization. And that organization, ICA, has become my heart. There's not anything I would not do for them.
Ah, that's wonderful, Pat. Kathy, let's go back with you. I think you're a nurse, correct?
I am. I'm a registered nurse.
You're a registered nurse. Okay, well, let's talk about your history in the 814.
Well, most of my career has been spent at St. Vincent's, and I became involved with Independent Council on Aging through different roles over the year where I was in a liaison position and just getting out in the community and seeing what resources there were available to the patients that we all serve. And I have probably been involved with ICA for about 10 to 12 years, I would say, at this point. And it is an incredible organization. We have so much talent and diversity on our membership log. It's phenomenal. And I'm honored to be sitting here next to Pat because she has done it all and seen it all with ICA.
Yeah, I remember her presidential years. And then Pat, of course, you retired. You were working for before you had retired from the presidency of ICA.
Bennetwood Apartments, which is a senior complex. So
sure.
This fits right in with that.
Right. Well, let's go back to the beginnings of ICA. And of course, with you, Pat, having years and years of time spent with the Independent Council on Aging, how did this all get started?
Our origins date back to 1956.
Thanks, Kat. 1956, before I was born. I'm really happy to say that.
Too.
By not much, but
we started, and certainly that was before my time. I believe the majority of the history we've been meeting the first Friday of every single month at, actually LECOM owns Regency now, and everyone comes together, and through the talent and the drive to serve the seniors in our region to the best of our ability and make sure that their lives are enriched, we have developed multiple programs, our guide to service that we put out every 2 years, just many things just to make sure that the seniors are living well and have access to the resources available in our area.
Well, the collaboration that goes on during an Independent Council on Aging meeting is incredible. I mean, we have lawyers, and we have people in, food banking, and, the list goes on and on and on. And I know that, we're talking back 1956. And so how many years are we?
Oh, don't make me do math.
A long time.
I didn't bring a calculator, Natalie.
Yeah, that's okay. So let's elaborate on your guide to services. There are so many. And I know that you have that guide, and there's lawyers, and talk more about that. Let our listeners know what they can do when they pick up an ICA guide.
Well, the ICA guide, we, like Kathy said, every 2 years, we do thousands of copies, and they go pretty quickly. Sure. And in that guide are, like you said, Natalie, lawyers and doctors and, senior living complexes, and just a whole total array of different organizations, so a senior can pick it up when they have a question about something and look and see the phone number, for that person, and the guides to services checks to make sure that the organizations are still in place, because as we know, many things
do change, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So people call, and doctors' offices, social work agencies, and they ask for guides to services, and we will take them as many as they want, and they just give them out to the seniors. It's a free, wonderful guide for the seniors.
For everything that they're looking for as they age.
It's a resource that is utilized by the hospitals, the nursing homes, the home care agencies. There's hospice services listed in there. All the food pantries, certainly Second Harvest Food Bank. It's just a great resource. We are actually about to go to print right now. We're in the final stages, and our first run will be 10,000 copies, and we typically go through those fairly quickly, so there'll be a second print at some point.
That's great. And how do they get the guide themselves? If they want to just call ICA, or is there an email that you have that they can email you and ask for one? Or
we have a Facebook page, so they can reach out on there. The email is icaeriepa@gmail.com. We have a website as well, icaerie.org. The phone number is listed. We have a phone system that's up and running all the time. Do you happen to know that number, Pat? I can't recall it off the top of my head. It is available on our Facebook page and the website, et cetera.
Sure. Now, this guide itself, I think, is great for families, too, taking care of seniors, because that's what we end up doing, right?
That's an overwhelming task if you don't work in the industry, to be in that position where you're looking for services for your loved one, be it a parent, grandparent, whatever the scenario. So there's certainly a lot of expertise listed in that guide to service to help guide people through that journey.
So say somebody would like to get involved with Independent Council on Aging. How do they go about doing that, ladies?
Well, generally it's mouth to mouth.
Sure.
Or somebody new comes into an agency and the person that's already there says, come on, you're coming with me. And
I think that happened to me.
No.
But it really does flow from that, or somebody will hear about it. Now, I'm not sure if somebody has ever called in and asked, but I do have the phone number for ICA.
Great.
And that is 814-835-7485. That's our general line. We do have representatives from ICA that handles the phones for us. They rotate weekly so that the people that are in need of something can reach somebody, mostly with a callback, because the answering machine answers, because we don't have an office that has a person in it, but certainly the phone calls come through. And I don't know if we've ever had somebody call and say, I want to volunteer.
That's another thing. It is a volunteer organization.
It is, yes.
So you could volunteer as well. or become a member, or do both for that matter.
Absolutely.
Right?
We put on several events over the course of a year, and we're always looking for volunteers to assist with those, and basket donations for our huge basket raffles. So there's certainly opportunity for volunteerism. As far as becoming a member, someone who's interested can come to a meeting as a guest the first time if they contact us and let us know that they're interested, and they can see what it's all about. And then if they would like to join at that point, we can make that happen as well.
How many members do we have now, Pat?
We have, at last count, 75.
I was going to say, it has grown.
Yes, it has.
Pat House, Kathy Katerna from Independent Council on Aging, and I'm excited to hear about what you've got coming up here. It is from Our Hearts Senior Luncheon, and it's on Valentine's Day. Who wants to take the lead on this
Pat's
one?
gig. She's the chairperson. She's going to tell us all about it.
You got it.
This event came to be because a group of us from ICA were talking about wanting to do a dinner for seniors. And we toyed around with maybe in the fall or, so on. But it's been in my bucket list to do something for seniors after the holidays. And what better time to do it than Valentine's Day?
Nice.
It gets folks out. If you have a partner, you have some place to go for lunch. If you don't, you bring a bunch of friends and you just come to a completely free afternoon, wherever we have it. This year we're at the Renaissance. Renaissance. Oh,
no, that's okay. That's where we're at
No,
right
we
now.
are there.
It's all good. Are you at the Renaissance this year?
we're
Okay.
the ambassador.
At the Ambassador. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but it took off. It just absolutely took off.
I know it did.
The first year we capped it at 250. We weren't sure anybody would come. It was packed. This year and the last years have been 500 seniors.
Wow, Pat, that is incredible.
And I'll give you an example. We started taking registrations on December 26th. January 10th, we were full.
500?
500.
Wow.
Yes.
Unbelievable. But it really is. And I mean, this is a time too, after the holidays and just being isolated as a senior until you can get back out. I mean, look outside. It's really difficult for any senior to get out and about right now. So this Valentine's Day luncheon, which is sold out now.
Yes, it is.
Which is great. And it goes on every year. So if our seniors out there that are listening, our LECOM seniors are listening, make sure that they get on it in what do we start? Like in December, like late December, correct?
Yeah, start looking for it in December.
Nice. So it's a luncheon. Everybody gets together. How is this paid for?
It's paid for through sponsors.
Nice.
And the sponsors have grown over the years. And not because necessarily we ask them. They call us now and say, I would like to be a sponsor for the Valentine's Day luncheon. So this has touched the hearts of many different people. And we are just so blessed with our sponsors. For this year, our goal, we're $125 in need. Other than that, the sponsors have come
taken
through.
care of.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
Well, I know that when we started, I mean, it was right after the pandemic. And of course, seniors couldn't get out and were very much isolated. And I know, Kathy, you tried really, really hard that one year to have it. And then we just needed to make sure that our seniors were safe.
We needed to make sure everybody was safe, but we came back with a vengeance, definitely.
And when did it sell out, Pat?
January 10th.
Wow.
Less than 2 weeks.
Yep.
And it's free for our seniors. They look for, what's on the agenda?
Well, we also have music. Well, they're there. Lindsay Vendetti comes, and she's been the one every year because she loves it now, too. She comes and plays.
She's so talented,
Yes,
too.
she is.
She's wonderful.
She's the best.
And she plays the music that our seniors really can relate to, which is another wonderful thing. So we have music. When you come in the door, you get a ticket, not buy a ticket, you get a ticket. And then sometime during the event, we will pull numbers for our baskets. So the more baskets we have, the more we can give out. So the entire event is free for those that are joining us for that event.
And when you say that, do the seniors need transportation? Do we work on any of that, or do they get themselves there?
It depends on where they're coming from. Some are coming from senior centers or senior high rises, and they perhaps can have transportation that way. A lot of them do drive. This particular venue will be more walkable. There's a drive-up area where they can be dropped off, in the parking lot and the banquet hall are actually within fairly close proximity to one another, so not too much walking. In the past, we've had golf carts, we've had volunteers running people in wheelchairs. Whatever it takes, we do it.
That is great. I know your involvement with ICA in the city of Erie. How about the county?
We are involved in the county as well. We really don't put on events out there, but certainly we do not turn away anybody out in the county. And certainly the guides are used in the region, the tri-state region.
Okay, now I know there's some other events that we need to discuss, like the comic relief for caregivers. When will that be?
The date for the comic relief for caregivers for this coming October is October 17th, and it will be at the Erie Shrine Club. That seems to be the home for this event.
Sure.
This is also a beloved event. It's a night out, a free night out for caregivers. Caregiving is a 24/7, 365.
Yes, it is.
Huge emotional, physical, and sometimes financial strain as well. So it's just a night to get out and have some fun.
And laughter, which is the best medicine. Come on now.
We have had some nationally known comics in the past. This past year was really phenomenal. And we have some local entertainment as well. We have Vinny Stefanelli and his band of veterans.
Right, Music for Veterans. Vinny has been on the show. He was on the show
we love Vinny.
Right around Veterans Day, and he really is. He has really put his footprint in this area. He left and he was out in California and he came back. So it's nice to hear that Vinny takes care of the entertainment
he does. He starts out the evening for us with a bang, definitely. And that event is heavy appetizers and coffee and tea and iced tea and things of that nature. And certainly there's an cash bar, not an open bar, forgive me, for those who would like to partake of a drink as well. That is also an event where we have a huge basket raffle. I think probably our biggest basket
one.
Raffle is that one.
Is Amy Weisslogel taking care of that again this year?
Yes. Amy is the chairperson for that event. She's incredible.
Awesome, too.
She actually has a co-chair this year because I think she's getting tired. Dina Scribner from Mercy Hilltop, is the co-chair of that event.
Terrific.
So we are really looking forward to that one. Our comic from last year, Tammy Pescatelli. I had to think about her name. She's going to help us out this year. She was so blown away by the event and by ICA and everything that we stand for and everything that we strive to do, that she's going to help us out this year. I'm not sure what that means.
Tammy Pescatelli will be back and making everyone laugh because that's what Tammy does.
Yes.
Years ago, of course, when I was on Rocket and she was coming into Junior's last laugh before it became Keller's. She's phenomenal. She does great work.
Agreed.
How about the Senior Art Show?
The Senior Art Show, the origin of that, it actually started at Mercy Hilltop when they were up by Mercyhurst. And Pat's been involved longer than I have. Do you want to speak to the origin of that? That one has gone on for decades now.
Decades. And I think...
Did you see that look? Decades.
And I think before me.
Okay.
Because I think it's been there since I've been there. Ray Mayholtz chairs that event.
Sure.
Craig Heiser as well now.
Right. And he has a co-chair. But the art show is always held around Mother's Day so that someone will come in and look at the art. And, we have different...
And this is senior art.
Yes, this is
over
senior
the age
art.
Let's make sure people know that these are seniors that are creating this beautiful art.
55 and older.
Right. And so Ray has had it that they can come and see the art. They get people coming in and voting on, favorites and those kinds of things. But then usually on Mother's Day, there is a brunch.
Lovely reception.
Oh, yes, there is.
Yes. And that reception is for the artists, their families, and certainly members of ICA.
So ICA is pretty much, from Valentine's Day to the Senior Art Show. Then we got comic relief for caregivers, so important. And then there's the Elder Justice Conference. Did we get that in this year? Or did we?
Yes,
Okay.
we did. Natalie, if I could go back, I just wanted to give a shout out to the Senior Art Show a little more.
Sure.
Traditions has actually been our host for several years now, and they do an incredible job. And UPMC actually sponsors the Senior Gallery, where all of that artwork is on display at all times. Look for the receptions because they're pretty amazing. We had one on October 17th and had representation from Harrisburg there, because certainly there's a lot going on in legislation for seniors as well. So we are all about advocating for our seniors. So lots of great things to come.
I think one thing I can say about Independent Council on Aging is you collaborate and advocate with so many people. It is a great network of individuals taking care of our seniors.
Yes.
So you got the art show and then the conference. Can we talk more about the conference?
Absolutely. The Elder Justice Conference did take place this year. It unfortunately did not for a couple of years because of COVID. It was organized by Pasquale Cassain, who is from GCAC, from Adult Protective Services. And this all came about, I think we're probably only 5 years now, with a couple of years off, because of the increase in the amount of abuse to elders, emotional, physical, financial exploitation. It's just, it's off the charts. I wish I had statistics with me. I should have brought some with me. But that's how this event came to pass. And it is more for the people who are providing the services. There's actually CEUs involved. It was a fairly low cost CEU. I believe it was only like $35, which is huge. It was for social workers this year. They're going to expand that further. When we were really getting going on it pre-COVID, it was going to include law enforcement, EMTs, nursing CEUs, in addition to social work. So we are planning on going back to a June date right around National Elder Abuse Day. So the speakers are all lined up at this point, and I don't have that information in front of me or the
That's okay,
date.
but I think it's extremely important. The justice for our elderly.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I don't think people realize how many of them are
The
being
numbers
taken
are
advantage
horrific.
of.
They
Yes.
really are.
Well, is there anything else, ladies, you'd like to add about the Independent Council on Aging?
I want to
Kathy
talk
Katerna?
a little bit more about the Valentine's
Yes, let's do it.
function. I witnessed it for the first time, and one of those experiences, Nat, where you are just smiling ear to ear and you have tears in your eyes and your heart is swelling because it's just so beautiful to see all these seniors together, and they dress up in red and pink and all of their finery, and just watching them stand up and dance together. And the couples that have been married, we've celebrated many anniversaries with, I hope they come again. We always look for them every year to make sure that they're still around and doing well. And the beautiful music, and they enjoy the food so much, and we have beautiful desserts that everyone always looks forward to, and it's such a heartwarming event. Hence the reason we have the sponsors coming to us. We really do not have to look that hard for sponsorship.
I feel that. You know, it does. It gives the seniors a place to go, to get out, to dress up, to dance. Like that's
Just the nostalgia of the music that just takes them back to when they were, dancing.
And Vinny's got the music for veterans there.
Yes.
The veterans are there playing the music for them.
Oh, not for this event.
Oh, no.
Vinny does the comic relief.
Oh, that's right.
caregivers.
Lindsay
Yes.
Vendetti does the...
Lindsay comes with an acoustic guitar player, and he's absolutely phenomenal. And you know how soulful and beautiful her voice is.
Yes.
So it is just a lovely, lovely event.
And she plays all them oldies
Yes.
that our seniors appreciate. Right. I
Yes.
get that. Please keep me informed so I can keep our seniors from LECOM here updated on the Independent Council on Aging and what you're up to. This is one organization that I can say definitely makes a difference in the 814.
Thank you, Nat.
We tried to. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in on this cold, brisk day in January.
Our pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
I just want to mention our Valentine's Day sponsors for the Independent Council on Aging's Valentine Luncheon with the seniors. Over 500, by the way. Optum, Aetna, Sarah Reed Senior Center, Asbury Spring Hill, Comfort Keepers, National Fuel, Care Patrol, Life NWPA, and Interim. Well, this week, we celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. Day. My next guest has exhibited many of those qualities in the 814. Fred Williams, who runs Climate Changers on the 300 block of East 11th Street. Fred, welcome to Breakfast with Nat the Hat in the 814. It is really good to see you again because I really need to tell people how we first got together I think it was about 3 years ago.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, it was a cold day, kind of what the week's been like. And I came down because I wanted to interview you as Agency of the Month for Second Harvest Food Bank.
Yes.
So I came to Climate Changers. I really didn't know what to expect. And I walk into your 11th Street door, and you and I start chit-chatting, and you're like, I remember you, you remember me.
Right.
We talked, and then you started showing me around. And in the meantime, somebody was pounding at the front door of your place. Now, I don't know if you recall this, but I remember this, and this has stuck with me. It was a big impression on me about you. And it was a gentleman at the front door. And you said, can you hold up a minute, Nat? I need to go to the front door, see what's going on with this guy. You opened up the front door, and it was a very thin gentleman on the streets. And he was looking for a winter coat. And you brought him inside. And you said, hold on, Nat. And you looked at him and you said, I think I have like extra large, but let me go back and get what I have, and I'm going to bring it to you. And you had like 5 different coats, and he grabbed one, put it on, and turned to you and thanked you. And it was pretty big on him. And he said, anything right now is good for me. And Fred, that really was a lasting impression on me about what you're doing on the Lower East Side of town. So I want to talk today about you. Let's talk about your background.
Okay.
Were you always in the 814?
No, I've lived in New York City. I've lived in Meadville. I've lived in Buffalo. I've lived in Cleveland. But I've spent the majority of my life right here in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Right. And so tell us about your background and your upbringing.
People, they look at a person, doing the things that I'm doing with Climate Changers. And I want to tell you all about Climate Changers,
Absolutely.
too. And they say, oh, man, this guy's a saint. Well, no, Fred's not a saint. But I am, however, a firm believer in God, and I try to be the best practitioner of those ways, right, of Christianity. Yes. I try to practice that, but this wasn't always my life. I actually did 18 years of incarceration. I started off at a young age. I used to sell drugs, and I've sold them all over the United States. And but God had a plan for my life, and I ended up, like I said, doing 18 years of incarceration. And during that time, it's funny because guys are always saying
18 years is a long time.
Yeah, 18 straight. And it's funny because you always hear guys that have a similar story. They say, yeah, I found God in the penitentiary. Like he lives on cell block 4 in cell number 6, right? But what I like to say is that he found me during my incarceration. And I just had an experience in there because it was like the it was probably the lowest time of my life.
Sure. Did somebody mentor you while you were incarcerated?
Yes. Yes, it did. There was a gentleman. His name is George Turner, right? They call him Applejack. And this guy is doing double life. Is a guy out of Detroit. And I'm telling you, it's amazing because people think that everybody that is incarcerated are just bad people and whatnot. Man, this guy was one of the most brilliant men that I've ever met. And man, he got me to read my first book from cover to cover. Right, I graduated high school and whatnot, but I read my first book from cover to cover in the penitentiary
because of Applejack.
Because of Applejack and whatnot, and he really introduced me to the Bible, and man, because it was all kind of mystifying to me, and religion was kind of spooky, you know what I mean, to me. But he let me know and showed me where, man, listen, God, Jesus, man, I just want to be your friend. It's just like a friend, just like I'm sitting here talking to you, man. He taught me how to pray. He said, man, it's just like having a conversation, man. You know what I mean, whatnot. So anyway, I went through all of that, and there was a lot of tragedies. You know, my father, he passed away. I couldn't go to his funeral. My brother passed away. I couldn't go to his funeral. Two of my best friends passed away. I couldn't go to their funerals. You know, my granddaughter, she passed away. I couldn't go to her funeral. And it was just a really painful event, but it was an eye-opener, and it brought me closer to Christ. It caused me to really do a lot of self-introspect, man, and really get myself together. And when I came out, I said, you know what? I spent a lot of my life doing things that helped to destroy the community that I love so much, Erie, Pennsylvania, and to destroy lives. I said, now I want to spend the rest of my life doing something to build the community and to help to restore lives and put families back together. So, man, God, he blessed me with this. Applejack is the one that told me about programs and programming and whatnot. So I actually wrote the curriculum for this program that we have called the Total Change Program, which like a year and a half ago, we received a national award for the Total Change Program for having the highest success rate in the entire country when it comes to recidivism.
Wow. And you know, when you got out,
yes,
Fred, out of incarceration, did you realize there's so many other people that get let back out and go back on the streets, don't have a place to go? You know, so I know that Climate Changers is making that change. That's what change is all about with your organization.
Right. And first of all, we called the place Climate Changers. We got that name, and it was myself and Bishop Curtis L. Jones, Sr. He's the one who actually helped us. We founded this thing together. But we called it Climate Changers because if you check, it takes 30 years for a climate to change in any specific place around the world. It takes 30 years for that to happen. So we said, man, you know what? That's the perfect name for what we're doing, Climate Changers, because we want to change the mental climate here in Erie, Pennsylvania, especially in the inner city, but not just the mental climate in the inner city, but also in the outskirts of the city, you know, in city council, you know, I mean, in the county council and whatnot, because everything needs to change.
And needs to connect, and we need to collaborate.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because there's too much us and them. You know, I mean, the country right now is in a grave state of divide. You know what I mean? I don't have anything bad to say about anybody. I pray for everybody, man, and I hope that, you know, somebody will see the light if they're wrong in some way and whatnot. But you know, the best that we can do as human beings is the best that you can do in whatever space you're occupying. So that's what I'm trying to do with Climate Changers. Do the best that I can do in the space that I occupy and with the sphere of influence that I have, you know what I mean, to try to spread, you know, hey, listen, we need to come together, and here are some ways that we can do that. Here's some ways that we can work together. So that's the basis of what motivated us to get started.
So you have your space down in the 300 block of East 11th. Now you are right in the mix.
Yeah, we're in the hood.
You are in the mix.
Right.
Tell us how that all got started.
Right. Well, I was blessed to meet a gentleman that had that building, and I told him what my vision was, and he said, "Wow." He says, "You know what? Okay, look." He said he had this space, and blah 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 blah, and one thing led to another, and bam, we got the keys. You know what I mean? And it was turned over. We
Another blessing,
right? We did some paperwork and whatnot, and we got the building, and man, and when we got it, it was crazy. We took out 3 30-yard dumpsters of trash and debris and stuff right out of that building, and man, I'm telling you, God just blessed us to connect to some people, man. We met some wonderful people, man. Scott Bonnell, he's from Bonnell's Collision.
yes.
Oh my God, listen, I call Scott my brother from another mother. This guy,
He's a great person. He has done so much for our community, Fred.
This
I
guy,
agree.
he jumped right in. He's not one of those guys. You know, there's a lot of it's sad in Christianity, right? There's a lot of people who say, "Oh yes, we're all Christians and we're all God's children, but you worship over there, we'll worship over here." But we're Christians, right? As you know, but Scott wasn't like that. Man, he came right down there with his little self in the middle of the hood.
Best, yes.
Right, he is the best. He came right down there and he rolled up his sleeves and he got right in there, and he has definitely been a true blessing to us, to our organization. And then there's a lot of other guys, man. Dave Nerfling from Nerfling's Heating and Cooling, right? Man, Dave was another guy. Rolled up his sleeves, man, came right down there. And they didn't come down there and act like, the people are something other than people or something other than God's children. You know what I mean? The only difference
Fred.
between the guy who sits on city council and is doing great and this guy who just got out of the rehab, man, is the opportunities that are presented to each, right? And the soil that they were planted in.
Right.
You take 2 seeds. If you have 2 identical seeds and you plant this one in some good fertile soil, right? And you give it sunlight and you nurture it and you water it, man, it's going to grow up great. But if you take that same identical seed and you put it in some dry soil, and you don't feed the thing, every now and then you give it a little drip of water, you might see a little sprout, maybe, right? But it's not going to grow up the same way. And the only difference is the soil that it's planted in and the nutrients that plant is given and the sunlight that shined on each one of them. So I said, man, knowing that, I said, you know what? Climate changes is going to be fertile soil for some of these seeds that can grow up to be some beautiful, beautiful plants. But they just need some fertile soil.
Amen.
They need some sunlight shined on them, and they need some good nutrients fed to them. And I said, that's what climate changes is going to do. And that's what we've been able to do, man. And we see some beautiful plants sprouting out of here, man. There's some young men that were incarcerated. Man, I have at least, there's at least 6 right now that have their own businesses.
Nice.
They have their own businesses. Some of them have come out and they've gotten married and started their own family. There's one guy, I know he never minds me mentioning his name, this guy named Matt Gear. Oh my God, this guy he's phenomenal. He works for Jeff Williams at Frontier Lumber, who's another great sponsor of ours, Jeff Williams. And he hired this guy. He came through my program. This guy came out of incarceration. He's his #1 employee out there. And this guy, man, I'm telling you, he got married. He has children, has got his own home. He's doing fantastic. And you know why? He got planted in some good soil.
Got the nutrients.
He got the nutrients.
Got the sun.
Got some sunlight shined
Yes.
on him. You know what I'm saying? And he also, it is a big help to him. He also gave his life to Christ. You know what I mean? He's a Christian now. And this guy, he doesn't use drugs. He doesn't use profanity. He's just a great guy. You know, I mean, him and his family, and they come all the time. I see them all the time. Him and his kids, they always come down and visit with me. You know what I mean? So it's just a great situation.
So, Fred, you open up Climate Changers.
Yes.
Okay. And in the meantime, are you still going to the Erie County Prison?
Oh, yeah.
And tell me about what you're doing over at the prison.
Okay, so in the Erie County Prison, we have a program. It's called the Total Change Program, right? And the reason why we call it the Total Change Program, because, you know, it's just like if you have cancer, right? And you go to get the radiology and stuff and you get the treatment, right? And you get cancer out of your entire body, except for there's a little bit of cancer left in your little pinky finger, right? Just in the end. Okay, guess what? Give it some time. You know how they say, wait for it, wait for it. It's going to start spreading back up that arm, and it's going to infect your body again, and you're going to be full of cancer again. So we tell people, listen, if you are really going to change your life, right? But first of all, there's something that you got to do. First, you have to be honest with yourself about yourself.
Right. What a good start, Fred.
You got to be honest with yourself about yourself. And then you have to really decide on whether you really want to change your life. Because when you ask people, you say, hey, how many people in here really want to change their lives? Right? And the first thing they think about is their material possessions, where they live at, you know, if they got crazy bills and stuff going on and whatnot. They start thinking about all these things, and they'll shoot their hand right up in the air, right? No, how many people really want to change your life? Not change your situation, but change your life, right? I said, so once you figure that out and you really want to change your life, then come on, let's go. There's some things that you have to learn, some things that you have to relearn. You know what I mean? I said, because if you can help a person change their perception about life, about people, about themselves, if you can get them to change their mind about the things that they think about, you can change the whole trajectory of a person's life. And I like to think that we are the best at doing that by the grace of God.
You have guided so many. Now, when did Climate Changers start? What year did we get this ball rolling?
You know what?
You just get me all excited every time I talk to you.
You're going to kick me right in the ankles because
you don't remember.
If I could give you a start date, I would be the smartest person in the world. And I'm obviously not that, so I don't know what the start date was. But we've been doing this for going on 8 years now.
Okay.
It's been about 8 years.
Now, do you go weekly down to the prison to talk?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we go in there. We do classes for the men, the women, and the juveniles in there. We were just on a small break. We're getting ready to start back up here. I think we got like 2 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks here. We're going to be starting back up again.
So this is
class.
what we call the Total Change Program.
Yes, the Total Change Program. And
okay, so I'm a student.
Yes.
I'm ready.
Yes.
Tell me how we're doing this.
Well, there's different segments to this. You know, there's the man in the mirror or woman in the mirror, whichever class that I'm doing. We have the process. We have something called the process, right? Because everything is a process.
Yes, it is.
We have. Listen, the decision-making process. This is another thing. You know, I mean, we help people to show them how. Listen, you could tell people all day, hey, you got to make a better decision. You got to start making better decisions. Well, if they don't know how to make a decision, you know, we find out because everybody has a different process. If I was to ask you, Nat, hey, Nat, how do you make decisions, right? And, you know, you may say, well, you know, I take away the pros and the cons and this and that, you know what I mean? I'll throw them up in the air, and then whatever lands on the table, that's what I do, right? So people have all kinds of, you know, in their mind, their perception of how they should do things. And then, listen, we cause people to challenge themselves. You have to challenge your thinking. You got to challenge the information that you have in your head. Because, listen, just because I love my mom, right? You guys remember this name. Her name is Donna Battles, right? She's my mom. She has dementia right now, and I take care of her. But she's a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful, wonderful woman. Man, she's a God-fearing woman, and she's educated. My mom, she put herself through school. She has her bachelor's and her master's degree. She was a law enforcement major, right? She come up in a real tough time, and she did that. It's quite an accomplishment. But she has dementia right now. So anybody that prays, remember that name, Donna Battles. She's a real sweetie. That's my mom. I love her. Right, and I'm a mama's boy. I love my mama. Right. So, but anyway, I tell people you got to challenge your thinking, because everything that my mom told me and taught me, she taught me out of love, but she just taught me the best that she knew. Right. Same thing with my father. My father, beautiful man, West Indian man. Right. God rest his soul. He passed away, but he taught me what he thought I needed to know, and he taught me that out of love. But not all of that information was good information. So you have to be willing to challenge the information that you have, no matter who it came from.
And you have to change it.
You got to change it. You have to be willing to change it.
Yes.
You can't be like, run through life like Bobby Boucher. Mama said that football the devil.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can't run through life like that just because your mom said this or your grandmother said this or big mama said that or whatnot. You have to be willing to challenge that information. You have to be willing to change. That is the toughest thing for any human being to do, is change. People don't like change. They want it to stay the same. Well, if you want to change your life, things can't be the same. Everything has to change. Your perception, the people, places, things, all of that stuff has to change.
Your circle of friends.
Oh, man, because you'll find out that most of the people that are in your circle are not your friends.
Right, Fred.
And that's a tough one.
Agreed.
That's a tough one. When you find out that, hey, listen, even your relatives, you're going to find out there's a difference between a relative and a family member. Mm-hmm. There's a huge difference between your family and just those people that you're related to.
Right.
Right? There's a responsibility that comes with that. So, we go in there and we put them through this, and it's, trust me when I tell you this.
Is it 12 weeks, Fred?
Yes, it usually averages out to about 10 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, about 10 weeks. And it's really intense. I mean, it is really, really intense, especially when we get to doing like the man in the mirror or the woman in the mirror, because they actually stand up there in front of a mirror, right? Because it's inside, it's a plastic mirror, but they can still see themselves. Mm-hmm. And I asked them, what do you see? What do you see when you look in there? And I usually have to ask them 3 or 4 times before. And God picked the perfect guy for this program, because I'm a no-nonsense type of guy.
Oh,
right?
We know that.
And I'm an alpha male. So, I kind of cut to the chase. Right? I kind of cut to the chase and get to the fat meat, right? So, and I really push them. And, man, but the truth that comes out of these men, the truth that comes out of these women, I'm telling you, listen, you wouldn't think that tears would be flowing in a setting of a group of men incarcerated. The tears that flow is from the truth, and it's the release of the truth. You know what I mean? Listen, I'm not a preacher, but I know there's a place in the Bible that says, when you have come to the truth shall set you free.
Yes.
And it's freedom, because these guys' lives transform, man. They transform because they have a renewing of their minds. Mm-hmm. They have a renewing of their mindset. And I'm telling you, 97.6 is the success rate. 97.6. That's what we got the national award for. 97.6 is the success rate of the people who come through the Total Change program, right, and stay out and are successful. During these 8 years that we've been doing this, well, I've been in the Erie County Prison for going on 5 years now. During these 5 years, we've had one fatality. There was one guy that overdosed. Mm-hmm. He's a gentleman. It was about 3-4 years back, over in McDonald's. He died in the bathroom there, fentanyl overdose. Mm-hmm. But we've only had one fatality, and out of, to date, I think there is, I want to get the number right. I think there is 680 some odd people that have gone through the program. 246 of them have come out, like back into the society. And out of that number, guess how many, Natalie, to date have gone back? Out of 246 people who've been released from incarceration. Yeah, how many think?
None.
Take a wild guess. I wish it was none. I would do a dance in here, right on your table, right there. I would do a dance, right? But it's unfortunately it's not. None have gone back, but we've had 7 go back out of 7. No, excuse me. We've had 17 go back, but listen, out of the 17, out of 246 people, the 17 that have gone back, all but 7 of them went back for child support. They were picked up for child support and things of that. There weren't new crimes. They didn't commit new crimes, right? They went back for, it was something like the violation was child support, or they didn't report on time. You know what I mean? There was things like this. There were no new crimes. And out of the remaining 7, there were violations, right? A couple of them left the state without permission, right? It was a violation. They went back in, and there were only 3 of those out of 240-something people.
That's huge. That's huge for
3 of them had new cases, and they were all misdemeanor cases. None of them came back with no felony charges, came out and choked somebody out or shot somebody or anything like that. So, man, that is a fantastic number.
You are definitely making change in our community and the program that's going on with climate changers. But I also know that your place over there at the 300 block of East 11th also feeds people.
Oh yeah, we got connected with Second Harvest Food Bank, and we distribute food every. Well, I was doing it just on Saturdays, but the need was so great. So we have people now. We tell them, they call in, they set up an appointment, and I have the families come down. You know what I mean? And this happens all through the week, 6 days a week. They can come down and get food. They come in, and I let them shop, and they get the things that they need. But we also. Listen, we do, I told you, it's called the Total Change Program. So, if you're going to help a person change their lives, you have to be involved in every aspect of their lives.
I was going to say.
Right. So we have parenting classes that we do, because we got to teach these guys how to be fathers.
Right.
Some of them just have kids and don't have any knowledge of what it is to be a father. Some of these women just have kids. They don't know anything about being a mother. So we do parenting classes, right? We do GED classes, right? We have a work ready program. Listen, do you know how many people that come out of incarceration, or people that are incarcerated over the age of 35, that have never had a job? To me, that is like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I always had when I was a kid, I cut grass, newspaper routes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, Fred.
Hustling pop bottles. Something.
5 cents.
5 cents. Well, hey, 10 cents for the big fatties. You know what I mean? Right. So, so, but there's people, so you got to meet them where they're at. So we get these people, and this has been very successful also, because we deal with all the manufacturers in the area. So we bring them in, and we teach them what conflict resolution in the workplace is. We teach them about that. There's no, you get mad at this guy, you want to take him out back and pound him. There's none of that. Right? So we have to teach these guys. We teach them how to do interviews. You'd be surprised at how many of them, they think because they're going to hire me because they see the size of my biceps. They see my pectoral muscles are outstanding. He's going to hire me, right?
Fred, yes.
So we teach them about, how to properly interview, how you should dress, how you should talk. And listen, and while they're going through this process, Natalie, this is a transformation of the mind taking place. Mm-hmm. This is their perception of it. And we bring people in. That's why you don't know it, Natalie, but I'm going to bring you down there, right? So because we need people like you to come down and to talk to these people, and so they can see, and listen, and the people that I I call it the Great American Melting Pot because I have blacks, white, Hispanics, right? I even had a guy in there. He was one of those little guys from Nepal, right? He comes about up to my elbow, right? He's a little guy.
Sign me up, Fred.
I love this guy, right? So we have people from all walks of life. And they just need to see people from all walks of life and from all ethnicities to come in that are in their community with them, right? They're in our community that say, hey, you know what? I'm just here to offer my help and however I can help you, right? We get people from the arts foundation. They come down and did a wonderful exercise with the ladies when we did the ladies group. So there's
there's a lot going on under the roof.
Man, there's a lot going on in there. We give out winter coats.
I know. I was
every
there.
year. We just got done with our winter coat drive. We gave out like a little over like 580 something brand new winter coats. We only do brand new. You know, I want them to have the same thing that we get. I don't give anybody anything that I wouldn't wear.
Fred Williams from Climate Changers. Fred, I could have you on for days. Like we could discuss things for days.
I'd come back too.
I will have you back on. I was thrilled to have you on the show today because I know how important you are for our community. And, you know, I sat in the comforts of my home listening to Dr. King's final speech on Monday evening.
Yes.
Thanking the Lord that I have a roof over my head. I've got food to eat. Yes. I've got heat to stay warm. You recognize those that don't. Dr. Martin Luther King said, quote, let us rise tonight with a greater readiness. Let us stand with a greater determination. Yes. And let us move on in these powerful days.
Yes.
These days of challenge to make America what it ought to be.
Yes.
We do have that opportunity to make America a better nation. Yeah. So these words are just as important today, Fred, as they were on April 3rd of 1968. Yes. Thank you for sharing your story and your time with me. Just yet another great in the 814.
Thank you for having me.
You've been tuned in to Breakfast with Nat the Hat in the 814, sponsored by Erie Insurance on 88.5 and 102.7 LECOM Radio.